President Trump's nominee for a top position at the State Department faced bipartisan pushback yesterday during a confirmation hearing over previous comments he has made regarding the erasure of white culture. Jeremy Carl served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Interior during Trump's first term and is currently a senior fellow at the Claremont Institute, a conservative think tank in Washington. He is Trump's pick for a position that involves implementing U.S. policy at the United Nations and other multilateral organizations. In one exchange, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut asked Carl to clarify previous statements regarding concerns over the erasure of white culture and identity.
So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than black identity.
Senator, again, thank you for
spent a lot of time talking about this and writing about this.
Yeah, no.
Be able to, you're struggling with this, but you should be fairly easily, I would assume, able to tell us your thoughts on how white identity is different than other kinds of identity and how it's being erased.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. I'm just trying to be very precise. Because I'm here in front of a Senate committee, I would say that the white church is very different than the black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Foodways could often be different.
And those
music could be different.
And those are being erased.
Music could be different. Well, if you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access white churches or white food or white music is being erased?
Senator, again, thank you for the question. What I would say is the biggest thing, because actually, contrary to many of the comments that have been shown, racial nationalists have been very, very critical of my work because they correctly say that I'm actually, of course, not a racial nationalist, which I'm not. I'm a civic nationalist. I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized, and I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better. That
Senator, I have to disagree with that.
You haven't been able to really coherently answer any of my questions about how you define white culture, how you define the threat that's posed. I appreciate you being very honest that you believe that white Americans are subject to greater amounts of discrimination in this country than black Americans. I do not think that's a sentiment that is shared broadly on this committee. It is all what makes you just wildly, wildly unqualified to take this post. I'm well over my time. Thank you.
Well, Senator, I do appreciate you letting me actually respond. I genuinely do. So thank you.
Gene Robinson, I'll let you take this one. It appeared the Super Bowl got to him, too.
Yeah, it got to him. It just really drove them insane. I don't get it. Did they not know that Puerto Rico was part of the United States? Did they not know that, that like 59 million Americans speak Spanish? It amazes me. I mean, beneath the surface of what he's saying, and not very far beneath, actually, like an eighth of an inch, is just this incredible racism. I mean, it's just naked, absolute racism, and also a complete ignorance of this country and its history. And to think that what he thinks of as white culture is somehow this pure white culture, I guess, like the elves in Lord of the Rings or something like that. It glows white. I mean, it's ridiculous. He talks about food and so fried chicken and obviously African American culture and Latino culture, but let's just look at African American culture. Look how it influences what he calls our foodways and our music, and it is a part of American culture. All of these strands African American culture, Latino culture, Asian American culture. They are big strands of American history. There is no America as it is today without these strands. We're all braided together. And his failure to understand that it's gobsmacking. It just knocks me over that someone could be that ignorant of his country. And I have to think it's just he's just blinded by out and out racism.
Reverend Al Sharpton, have at it.
Well, I think that what we should not miss here is he was nominated by the president for position. This is not just some guy with an opinion. He was nominated, and it is clear that he's written and documented all of this. And the thing that makes it so blatantly racist is he acts like all white churches are the same. There's a difference between how whites are Catholics and how whites are Methodists. I mean, there's a difference in how Italians eat and how Jewish people eat. So it's based on racism. You can't not take that away, which is why I said what I said about affirmative action. They're basing it on racism. But don't miss the fact that the Trump administration nominated this guy and wanted to put him in a position. He's not just somebody sitting up there having a scholarly discussion with the Senate.
All right, Eugene Robinson, thank you very much. And up next,